Chutko people, I hope everyone who is watching this video is happy, is healthy and everything is going on really great. If it is not, please not be anxious. Everything will fall into its place at the right time. Yeah. And I welcome you all to Solve Sample Paper 4 with me, where me, Jasmine Joy, will be solving questions exclusively from biology. And one more thing, how many marks will biology give you? 30 marks, my dear children. Okay. From an 80 marker question paper, 30 marks come from biology itself, so you have to be really careful out there. Okay, you have to prioritize this particular subject. I always say that and I'll continue to do so. Yeah, so 9 marker questions, 9 questions from 1 marker category and 3 questions from 2 marker category. 2 from 3 marker and 1 from 5 marker and 1 from 4 marker category will be there in this question paper. So let's just start solving with section A, which consists of 1 marker question. How many of them are there? 9 of them are there. Okay. So MCQs are the first thing that you have. Okay. In which of the following statement is true about the uptake of water in plants? You have to find what is true, my dear children. So let's see what is true. It occurs all the time due to diffusion. Do you think it can occur all the time due to diffusion? Uptake of water? No. Okay, it's not occurring all the time due to diffusion. There are a lot of things running behind it, and it's more than diffusion. You have something else. A type of diffusion which plays a major role, that is osmosis. So water enters the roots due to osmosis. This is correct. This is correct. Water enters the roots due to something that is known as osmosis. So what is exactly happening over there is that, for probably this is the roots. Okay, over here you get to see there are so many ions which gets inside. Okay, and these ions get inside with the help of active transport, my dear children. That is, they spend ATP and say that we want to just get inside the roots. Okay, we just want to get inside the roots, or basically the roots said, I'll spend money, I'll spend my ATP, you just get inside. So ions are very important, which is why ions gets inside with the help of active transport, which is a type of diffusion. Okay, now who is the one responsible for the water intake? Since these ions gets inside, the next thing comes into play, that is osmosis, my dear children, where what happens, the solvent which is more outside will be moving from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Since here ions are more and solvent is less, and here ions are less and solvent is more, what do? Basically, from here to here things will be moving. Solvent will be moving from this side to this side. This is due to osmosis, my dear children, and this is the reason why water uptake is happening. So before water uptake, you need active transport of ions, and they create an hypertonic situation there. To make an equilibrium over there, water from here will be moving inside the roots. So water transport, it happens due to what? Osmosis. Now at night when transpiration is low, roots do not uptake water. Do you think at night if transpiration is low, transpiration means what? Loss of water in the form of water vapor. So sun is there, so obviously the water will be lost in the form of water vapor in the morning time. But at night if it's not there, that does not mean the water is not transported. Still it is getting transported, and there what plays a major role? The root pressure theory plays a major role in transport of water. What happens in root pressure theory? The thing that I am explaining you over here. The ions get in and then the water get in. So this thing happens. This does not need sunlight, right? So this will happen in the roots, and this is known as root pressure. This is because of the root pressure the water will get transported. So what happens is that water molecule gets in, it will push the other water molecule, and the water molecules go up because of the pressure being generated over here. So this is wrong. When transpiration at night, when transpiration is low, roots do not uptake water. No, it's not like that. Roots definitely uptake water. Okay. Now the movement of water from roots to leaves is bidirectional. Do you think it is bidirectional as in it can move either way? No, my dear children. Always remember, the movement of water is unidirectional. Wherever you go, the movement of water will be unidirectional. That is, from the soil, the water will be moving upwards. That is the only way. It cannot go downwards. It always go upwards. This is what you mean by unidirectional movement. So I'll tell you, in xylem tissues which are responsible for the transport of water molecules, the flow is always what? Unidirectional. So this is again wrong. What is true? Only one statement is true, that is B. Cool. So B is the correct answer for this. Cool. Now the next question. Oxygen saturation levels. Read this question really carefully, okay? Okay. Oxygen saturation levels refer to the extent hemoglobin is bound to oxygen. Okay. oxygen plus hemoglobin is what you mean by oxygen saturation. So, if more oxygen and hemoglobin binding is there, that means oxygen saturation is more. If it is less, oxygen is less, okay, it is not bound to hemoglobin, then what do you call, the saturation will also be less. Okay. Now, over here, as altitude increases, my dear children, as altitude is increasing, altitude is given in this particular axis, right, and over here you are saying it is increasing. At this particular point of time, the atmospheric pressure decreases. Which of the following graphs correctly represent the oxygen saturation levels as altitude increases? So, you might be knowing that people who climb Mount Everest and all, okay, they have to be very well trained to live in an environment where oxygen is not that much. Okay, where oxygen is not, so when you go to high altitudes, the amount of oxygen gets less. So, if oxygen is less, obviously it won't be bound to hemoglobin also, not much amount of oxygen will be bound to hemoglobin. So, can I say oxygen saturation will also go down? Can I say oxygen saturation goes down as we go up to the higher altitude? Yes. So, over here which graph do you think is correct? This is P, this is Q, this is R and this is S. So, over here altitude increases, so oxygen saturation also increases and then it goes really less. Can that happen? When altitude is increasing, can it go up? Can it go up and then come down? No. What about this? The oxygen saturation was really high when the altitude was less, but when altitude goes more, what happens? The saturation also decreases. That means the level of oxygen which was there, it gets less, so it won't be bound to hemoglobin and hence the saturation decreases. Can I just say this is correct? I don't even have to see the other options. I don't have to see the other options. Here it says that it will be always same. Here it says that it will, oxygen saturation keeps on increasing as you go to higher altitudes. No dear, you do not have oxygen availability there. So, obviously this will be the correct answer. So, I will say Q is the correct answer for this. So, understand, if you are not understanding the graph, understand the question. In the question it clearly states saturation is what? Refers to the extent hemoglobin is bound to oxygen. So, if you do not have oxygen availability, obviously that means saturation is going to go down. Good? So, Q is the answer for this. Chalo. Which of the following methods are useful to prevent fertilization even when ovulation occurs? So, what do you mean by ovulation? That is the release of egg. So, egg is being released. Egg is being released, tick mark. But fertilization is not occurring. That is, egg and the sperm is not able to meet. That is the thing. So, you have to find out which is that where fertilization is not occurring. Okay, which fertilization is not occurring, but ovulation is happening. Egg is releasing, but this is not occurring. Surgical blocking of fallopian tube, do you think in this case the egg will be released? Yes, when you surgically block the fallopian tube are the one that carries the ovum, right? So, if you surgically block, cut the fallopian tube and tie it up, still the egg will be released, but the egg would not be able to go ahead and meet the sperm. So, yes, this is one method in which egg is released, but fertilization is not happening. What about copper T? In copper T also, copper T is inserted inside the uterus. And what does copper T do? The sperm which tries to get inside the uterus, it will hold all of that and see that you are not allowed to meet the egg. You are not going to meet the egg. I am going to disturb your motility. Sperm motility as in sperm movement will be reduced, and if it is not having enough speed, it cannot go and meet the egg which is waiting over there. Again, do you think fertilization is happening? No. So, I will say this is also a thing. Oral pills. Oral pills is what? A combination of hormones, my dear children, that is progesterone and estrogen and things like that. Progesterone and estrogen are really important for the process of ovulation to happen. Okay, especially estrogen, it is really important for the process of ovulation to happen, that is for the egg release, but in limited quantity. If I am giving hormones to my body from outside sources, that means I am going to disturb the balance of the hormones which are already in there. I am going to make it in increasing amount, and don't you think if it is coming in way too much amount, the process it was doing, it will stop doing that. So, ovulation which was actually happening, it would not be happening now. There will be a problem with ovulation as well, the egg release as well. Okay, so this is not something where ovulation can happen and hence but still fertilization. Here ovulation itself would not be happening. There will be some problem happening with the ovulation process. So, I will say this is something wrong. Okay, I cannot include in this category. Now, condom again. over here, ovulation is happening in the female body. What is happening with the condom? The sperm is not able to meet the egg because there is a barrier over there. Condom acts like a barrier. Sperm is also being released, egg is also being released, but they do not meet because there is a condom over there. So here also ovulation is happening, but fertilization is not happening. Okay, so which of the following methods are useful to prevent fertilization even when ovulation occurs? I will say P, Q and S. I will say P, Q and S, because on oral pills even the egg release is a big question mark. Okay. Yes. Next question. In cattle, having horns is a recessive. In cattle, having horns is a recessive trait. Okay, having horn is what? A recessive trait. It is not very much for. It is a recessive trait. Okay. To not having horns. Okay. If someone is not having horns, that is a dominant character, and the one that has horn, it is a recessive character. Now what? When cattle with horns are crossed with cattle that do not have horns, okay, when cattle who are having horns, okay, are crossed with that does not have horns. So to not have horns, you should be having recessive condition like this. Then only, oh mom, wait. Wait. I am the problem. Having horn is a recessive character, right? So the cattle that has horn will be like this, okay, and the cattle that does not have horn can be either like this or can be like this also. Okay. The number of offspring having horns was equal to those not having horns. When you crossed cattle having horns to the ones that does not have horns, you found that basically the offsprings which were having horns were equal to the ones that does not have horns. So what is basically the genotype of these parents? That is what is being asked over here. So let's find out that. In what condition? So I will keep the condition 1 like this. Now suppose if the parent was like this, whatever cross you do, my dear children, all of them will be like this, the progenies will be like this. In that case, okay, all the 4 progenies will be like this. Why I am saying so? You want to see it? I can show you. So this is fixed. That is, the one that has horns will be always like this because it's a recessive character. So both HH should be there. The other guy, if it was like this, if you make a cross, the gametes are H, capital H, capital H. If you cross this with this, you get capital H, small h. If you cross this with this, capital H, small h, again, capital H, small h, again, capital H, small h. All of them has capital H, small h, my dear children. That means what? That means what? All of them will not be having horns. No horns will be there. There won't be horns, my dear children, because capital H means there is no horn, right? So, but over here the children are having, half of them are having horns and half of them are not having horns. So this cannot be a condition. Both the parents are homozygous dominant. That is obviously not possible. One parent is homozygous dominant. Is one parent homozygous dominant? No, it is homozygous recessive. If in this case, if it is homozygous dominant, this condition cannot be. So this is also wrong. Now let's see the other option. Let's try to see the actual answer for this. So the other parent should be like this, my dear children, then only things will work. Capital H, small h. Now here, small h, capital H, small h. When you cross this and this, you get capital H, small h. That means this guy will not have horn, no horn, okay. Now we cross this with this, you get small h, it has horn. When you cross this with this, again, capital H, small h, it does not have horn. When you cross this with this, last one, H and H, again H and H means you will be having horn. So you see, 2 of them does not have horns, 2 of them have horns. That means 50-50 is there. So this is the condition. This is the genotype of both the parents. The one that has horn, the one that does not have horn. Okay. So here both parents are heterozygous. Can I say both parents are heterozygous? No, my dear children. One parent is heterozygous. Can I say one parent is heterozygous? Yes, I can say that. So this becomes your answer. Okay, this becomes your answer. You don't have to think very much over here. So what was I saying? Yeah, you do not have to think too much. Over here it is mentioned having horn is a recessive trait, and the other one not having is a dominant trait, and over here you are crossing between the one having horn and does not have horn, and you are getting two equal type of progenies. That means it has to be conditioned like this. If the parents were homozygous dominant, okay, all of them will be showing the dominant character. All of them should be showing the dominant character. You want the recessive character, then you have to add a recessive allele. That's all. Okay, so if this was a recessive character, that is having horn is a recessive character, and you are getting in the progeny, that means it will be like this. Don't do all the calculation and see. Okay, chalo. Next part of the question. Ayo, where is it? Yes. Patient X was suffering from pancreatic condition due to which the pancreas was not functioning adequately. Okay, the pancreas is not functioning. Which of the following is a doctor likely to suggest to such an individual? For example, my pancreas has some problem. What will doctor suggest to me? Pancreas, I'll tell you, pancreas is the one that is going to break down lots and lot of proteins, lots and lots of fats, and lots of carbohydrates as well. Each and everything will be broken down by pancreatic enzymes, my dear children. So, if pancreas is not there working properly, this breakdown would not happen, this breakdown will not happen, this breakdown will not happen properly. Will not happen properly, it will happen, but won't be happening properly. Okay. Now, the doctor will suggest me not to have some diet which has high amount of protein, that has high amount of fat, that has high amount of carbohydrates as well. For proteins and carbohydrates, you have got other enzymes in your body which will be acting, but for fat, you have got one major enzyme, that is pancreatic lipase. So, in short, you should be having less amount of all this thing, but talking about fat exclusively, this pancreatic lipase, my dear children, which is the first enzyme to act on fat. Okay, there will be further enzymes, but this is the first enzyme that will be acting on fat. So, over here, if pancreas has some problem, that means you have to take care of fat in the most appropriate way. You should not be having food that has high amount of fat. You should not be having food that has high amount of either of this, but fat especially. So, what will the doctor suggest? Including a large amount of protein in the diet, doctor will not say that. Okay, doctor will say have less protein. So, this is wrong. Eating a diet with low fat content, yes, you should be having a fight, sorry, not fight with fat, okay. I hope now it's fine. Yeah. So, I was saying that yes, you should be having a diet with low fat content. Okay. Now, eating only carbohydrates, again, no, you should not be doing that. You should be having less amount of carbohydrate. Including only liquid foods, no, my dear children, that is no cure for it. So, basically, this becomes your answer. Cool. Next question. Plants receive energy from sun, okay, which they utilize for several processes. The energy utilized for which of the following plant processes gets transferred to the next trophic level that consumes the plant. So, there is plant and there is sunlight. Plant will be using sun's energy for lot of its process. For example, growth, photosynthesis, respiration, everything, each and every processes. So, that is there for sure. But what actually, okay, which energy, what is it actually doing which will be beneficial for the next organism also, for the next organism which is going to feed on it. The question says, what is that process in which the plant will invest and it will indirectly is going to benefit the organism that is going to eat it? What do you suggest? Growth, photosynthesis, respiration, transpiration, everything, if you come, it's beneficial for plants itself. Okay, it is beneficial for plants. What about the other organism which is there? For other organism, growth is the factor that plays the major role. If the plant is putting its effort into growing, into dividing its cells and growing away much, after doing photosynthesis, respiration, everything, you get energy, you get food and everything, and after that when you grow, that is the thing that is most beneficial for the next organism that is going to eat the plant. So, that is the question. Plants receive energy from sun which they utilize for several processes. The energy utilized for which of the following plant processes get transferred to the next trophic level that consume the plants. So, it will be only growth. This is the process that will give direct benefit to the organism which eats the plant. Photosynthesis, respiration will be giving benefit to the plant. Okay, I am not saying it won't be giving benefit to the organism, but all these processes, photosynthesis, respiration, everything will cumulatively help in the growth of the plant, my dear children, and the growth is the one that will be beneficial for the next organism. Cool? So this becomes the answer. I know this is a big tricky question. I hope they do not ask it on the day of exam, but yes, this is the answer that they have given as well. Cool? Chalo. Next, the action of which among the following is crucial to the formation of ozone? How is ozone formed? Ozone is formed when O2 is there and it binds with O. That's how you get ozone, that is O3. How do you get this O? When basically some other O2 might have been targeted by the sun's light. Okay, when the sun's light UV rays fall on it, the O2 breaks down to two O's. This O can go bind with another oxygen molecule to give O3. Similarly, this O can bind with another oxygen molecule to give what? O3. This is how ozone is being formed. So, can I say it is sunlight that plays a major role over here? Yes. So, this becomes the answer. Cool. Next question. Assertion and reason question. There will be two assertion and reason coming from biology. Okay, it will come definitely. So, variations always provide survival advantage to an organism. Variations means what? Changes in the genetic material, my dear children. So, do you think every change in the genetic material will be really good? No. Some can be really harmful also. For example, you get cancer because the genetic material is being changed. There is some mutation in it, right? So, variation does not always provide survival advantage. It is not a guarantee. Sometimes it will be good, sometimes it might be bad. So, I will say assertion is false. Assertion is what? False. Okay. So, there is only one option which says assertion is false, so it has to be D. But let us see the other part. Reason. Variation can be caused due to incorrect DNA copying. Yes, it can be caused due to incorrect DNA copy. So, basically what happens? For example, one cell is there. One cell has to divide into two cells. So, genetic material which is there in this cell, it has to be copied, and then only it can pass these copy to the next cells that is there. So, this copying mechanism is not error free. There will be so many errors that will be there, and these errors can lead to what? Variations, my dear little children. So, this is entirely true. Variations can be caused due to incorrect DNA copy. So, R is false, but A is false, but R is what? True. Okay. So, this is the answer. Chalo. Next question. Omnivores receive 10% of their energy from the trophic level below them. What do you mean by omnivores? The one that eat both plants as well as animals. So, I am saying omnivores receive 10% of the energy from the trophic level below them. Yes, all the organisms, they receive 10% of the energy from the organisms below them. For example, this is a plant and this is a rabbit. Okay. So, this particular rabbit is just going to receive 10% of the energy. So, now suppose it's human over here. Human beings are omnivores. We can eat plants as well as animals. So, if I am eating plant, I am just going to receive 10% of the energy. So, this is true. Assertion is true. What about the reason? An omnivore is always in the trophic level just above herbivores. Is that so? Just above herbivores, is that so? For example, this is the omnivore. Is it above an herbivore? Above an herbivore, my dear children? No, this is not true. This is not true. Right? I can be directly eating plants. Why should I to be above an herbivore? Why is the case very necessary that humans and then rabbit and then plant is there? That's not necessity. I can directly eat the plant as well. So, this is wrong. There is a reason what they are saying is absolutely wrong. This is not actually explaining also, and the statement is wrong. But assertion is correct. So, I will say assertion is true, but the reason is what? False. Cool? Now, section B, that is 2-marker question, children. Let's get started. Ravi cultivated mustard, a plant with bisexual flowers. What do you mean by bisexual flowers? Basically, for example, this is the flower. The flower will be having the female reproductive part as well as the male reproductive part. This is known as a bisexual flower. Now, his plants were diseased due to gene defect and therefore had reduced yield. So, he found that his plants which were there, they were kind of dying because they had so much disease and things like that, because there was a gene defect that was there. So, what did Ravi do? Ravi removed the stamens from the diseased plants. He removed these guys. Okay, before I get to remove them, I want to ask you one thing. If both of them are there, don't you think the pollen grains which are there, from here it will be going to this particular stigma? Yes. So pollen grains is also from the same plant. Stigma which has the ovule, it is also from the same plant itself. So same plant means same genetic material. Same plant means same genetic material in both these cells. The female, the male cell and the female cell which is going to fuse, they will have the same genetic material. So if there is any defect, that defect is going to be found in the progeny also. The progeny that will be formed, the next plant that will be found will also have the disease, because you are taking from the same background parents, right? So obviously they will have it. Now Ravi, what did he do? Actually I told you the answer itself. Now Ravi, what did he do? He removed the stamens from here, that is the male part from here, and what? And also planted fresh disease free mustard plants where he removed the pistils. Now he took another mustard plant which was there, this is disease free, okay, this is a whole different plant where he removed the pistils, that is the female part is removed, the male part is there, okay, fine, this is the case that we have. How will Ravi's strategy help in improving the yield of mustard? How do you think this strategy is going to help? Basically, if the pollen grain as well as the ovule were from the same plant, obviously they will have the same genetic material. That means the male gamete inside the pollen grain and the female gamete inside the ovule will have the same genetic material. So whatever you do, the progeny will have the disease. But what if the pollen grains which are released from here are of different plant? So that means different genetic material, and this is a disease free plant. So obviously disease free pollen grain I am getting. This pollen grain coming and landing on this particular stigma, okay, will result in a progeny that has newer combination, my dear children. So obviously in this case the progeny might not be diseased. In this case the progeny is not diseased. And what do you call this type of pollination? You call this type of pollination as cross pollination. You are crossing them, and this is known as cross pollination, my dear children, where things are moving from here to here. This is the strategy of Ravi, and this was really helpful. Okay, let us see how. So, 1 mark for each of the following. Ravi made the bisexual flower unisexual, thereby encouraging cross pollination instead of self pollination. So, he encouraged cross pollination instead of self pollination by making the bisexual flower turn into what? Unisexual. Unisexual as in only one sex in one particular flower. So, over here you see this is the female part, so this is a female flower. This is now having the male part, so it will be the male flower. Get it? Now, cross pollination will increase variation, and thereby the chances of having more disease free offsprings will also increases. So, first you said what you did, okay, what did he do? What did he do? He converted them into unisexual and hence help with cross pollination. Now, what is the benefit of cross pollination? Cross pollination will obviously increase the variations. Okay, there is a newer combination that will be found. So, this becomes the answer for this question. 2 mark question, 1 mark for each of these points. Now, this is the marking scheme that government has given, that is CBSE has given. So, please follow this. Cool? Chalo. Next question. A plant X was enclosed in a glass jar with some lizards. Okay, so you had plant X which was enclosed in a glass jar. This is X. Okay, and over here what do you have? You have lizard as well, which I might not be drawing really well, but yes, this is a lizard that we have. Okay, now similar plant Y was enclosed. There is plant Y which was also enclosed in a glass jar but without the lizard. So, lizards are not here. Both the jars are kept under the same light condition. So, you have the same light condition, okay, my dear children. Now, what will happen? For a few hours, which plant is likely to photosynthesize more and why? What do you think? Who do you think will photosynthesize more, my dear children? This guy or this guy? For few hours only, okay? I will say this. Why? Why will I say this? For photosynthesis, what all do you need? You need CO2 and you need H2. Suppose I already gave them H2, what did I give them? Okay, but CO2, if it is a closed jar, will you get CO2 from somewhere? So, it has to be produced here itself, but is it producing? Is it getting produced over here? It will be produced, but not way too much. It will be produced. Why, children? Because respiration is happening also. Respiration is happening in the plants. And what do you mean by respiration? Where the energy which is already there in the plant, okay, the glucose is broken down 2CO2 plus H2O plus energy in the presence of oxygen. So, this is happening. CO2 is being released. Now, this CO2 is being utilized again to release more oxygen, and the same thing happens again and again and again. That is there, but is it way too much? No. But over here, there is one guy, that is lizard. Lizard is also respiring. Along with the plants respiring, lizard is also respiring, and in lizard's respiration it is giving out what? It is giving out way too much amount of CO2, my dear children. Okay, it will give out CO2, and the plant, what is it giving out? The plant, when it is doing photosynthesis, okay, so it gives us CO2, this CO2 is being utilized by the plants for the process of photosynthesis, where it gives out oxygen as well as glucose. Now, this oxygen which is given out will be taken by the lizard will take this oxygen and give out carbon dioxide again, and the whole thing goes again and again, over and over again. So, here the rate of photosynthesis will obviously be more because there is a lizard who is respiring. So, plant X, due to respiration of the lizard, the amount of carbon dioxide will increase, leading to higher amount of photosynthesis. Okay? This is 1 mark. Now, what do you have? You have this question also. Proteinuria is a condition in which significant amounts of proteins can be detected in the urine. In the urine, you are finding protein. Which process in the nephron is likely to be affected, causing proteinuria, and justify? So, what do you think is the problem with the nephron, which is why you are getting proteins? So, let me tell you, this is a nephron, and the first process in the formation of urine formation, is that what happens, the blood capillaries which are there, it is going to give out glucose, amino acids, urea, certain ions and water to the nephron. This is a part of a nephron. Proteins cannot come in. Proteins do not come in because proteins are larger in size, so they cannot move down. But over here, if you are saying in the urine which is produced by the nephron, if you have protein, then probably this process, that is filtration, might have not taken place properly. Okay, which process in the nephron is likely to be affected, causing this proteinuria? Filtration is that process. Now, the next part is that, suppose something came in also. Suppose something came in the next part of the nephron, that is proximal convoluted tubule. What happens? Whatever is important is being taken back. How? So, the blood capillaries which are there, it moves around the nephron, and whatever is there which is put down in the nephron, but still it is useful in our body, it is needed in our body, it is being taken back. You call this process as selective reabsorption. You select, for example, I gave glucose, amino acid, urea, ions and water, but now I want glucose back. My body is having less sugar. So, glucose is taken back or ions are taken back. Okay, so what do you call this? Selective reabsorption. So, here also you had got the chance, that is proteins are there, you can take this also back, still you did not take back, then that is also a problem. So, that is the next thing. So, selective reabsorption might also be a reason. Problem with selective reabsorption might also be a reason that this condition is happening. Filtration and selective reabsorption are not taking place properly. Cool, which is why this particular process is happening. So, how do you frame the answer here? So, filtration or selective reabsorption by nephron may not be functioning properly. Now, justify, you have to justify. Improper filtration will lead to proteins getting filtered even though they are not the waste. They are not the waste, but since this is improper filtration, which is why it is also going to get moved out. Get it? So, that is how you have to frame the answer. Here you get 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, here you get 1 mark for this and 1 mark for this. Cool. Chalo. So, take the question in a detailed way, read it properly and answer accordingly. First question was, which plant is likely to photosynthesize more? That is the first question. And now why? That is the second part of the question. So, you have to give the answer for the first as 1 point. Second point will be the second answer. Get it? Chalo. Next question. Shown below are 2 food pyramids. The pyramid representing the land ecosystem is traditional, with producers being greater in mass. So, over here in land ecosystem, for example, we have forest area, things like that. Over there, if you see the plants which are very much in number, okay, and apart from number, they are very huge also. And the organism feeding on the plants might be small plants, right. So, this pyramid which is there, okay, it is about the biomass. The pyramid representing the land ecosystem in traditional, a producer being greater in mass than the primary consumers. Obviously, producers as in plants, and the primary consumers probably birds or something like that, that might be feeding on the plants. I don't know why is it happening. Okay, so inverted pyramid exists over here, where in the aquatic ecosystem, instead of plants, what do you have, children? Phytoplanktons. These phytoplanktons which are there, they are responsible for capturing the sunlight. Okay, so phytoplanktons are really small things, and phytoplanktons are being eaten by zooplanktons. Zooplanktons are eaten by small fishes are eaten by large fishes. So if you see, the biomass of them is keep on increasing. Phytoplanktons are small, they are capturing energy that is there, but they are small things, so their biomass will be less. So obviously the one that has lesser biomass is over here. If I go according to the biomass pyramid, for example, this is 2 grams. If 2 gram phytoplankton is being eaten up by zooplankton, so many zooplanktons are eating on too many phytoplanktons. So obviously they will be having, for example, zooplankton ate 4 such phytoplankton, so it will be having 8 grams now. This zooplankton is being eaten by small fishes, 8 gram per each. If you small fishes, if they are eating 4, okay, or probably let's take at least 2. Okay, 2 zooplankton are being eaten by the small fishes, you get 16 grams over here. So the biomass anyways is going to increase. The biomass which is there, it is obviously going to increase. They are occupying very small biomass over here. So you see an inverted pyramid over here. Okay, sometimes, okay, so here the total mass of producers is much smaller than the top consumers that you have. Which level is likely to have the most amount of energy in such an aquatic ecosystem? Which do you think will be having the most amount of energy? When you talk about energy, my dear children, you are not talking about biomass. Energy means how much energy you have. So phytoplanktons which are there, still they will be having high amount of energy because they are receiving it directly from the sun. So obviously they will be having the high amount of energy. Now they will be passing it, 10% of it will be passed to the next generation, not next generation, next trophic level. Similarly, 10% of this will be given, 10% of this will be given. So if you go above, the level of energy goes down. So in the case of pyramid of energy, this is pyramid of biomass, but in the case of pyramid of energy, the base will always be like this, like this. It is upright. What do you call this pyramid? Upright. So it cannot be inverted like this. Always the one that has the first trophic level, my dear children, that is the phytoplanktons or basically plants, whatever it is there, it will be having most amount of energy, then only it will be going upwards. Okay, give a reason to support your answer. So you know the reason. This is the reason, because it is directly getting this energy from the sun. So obviously it will have more, and now it is passing only 10% of the energy that it has captured. You get it? Only 10% of it. So obviously it will be, if you are giving 10% of sun, that means 90% you are either, some of it might be waste, but some of it you might be utilizing it, obviously. So that becomes the answer for this. How do you frame this answer? Trophic level 1 phytoplankton has what? Most amount of energy. How do you justify? Producers still will have highest amount of energy captured from sunlight, which will continue to reduce as we move towards the top of the pyramid, because there is a 10% rule, my dear children. You get it? So you get 0.5 for each of the following, 0.5 for this, 0.5 for this, 1 mark. Now, such aquatic ecosystems are not considered to be sustainable. Do you think such aquatic ecosystem which is there, it is not sustainable, it won't sustain for a longer time? Yes, it would not sustain for a longer time. That is definitely true. How can you justify? Because since the total mass in the lower trophic level is lesser, there will be lesser food available, obviously. Yes, after the bigger fishes have eaten the smaller fishes and things like that, at the end when you come, someone might be eating someone else, right? And in the lower level, if there is no much food, how can all the other organisms survive, my dear children? Obviously, it will perish later on. Okay, this particular ecosystem which is there, which has been there, it will perish. So this is not exactly sustainable. Okay. Now comes section C, which is 3 mark question. There are 2 questions which is of 3 marks. Okay, we will get into that, but I hope this time it does not get stuck. Okay. In animals, hormones can be secreted by one organ and can act on multiple organs. Justify this statement by explaining the effect of a single animal hormone on 3 organs. So a hormone is released, and this hormone is going to have multiple effects on multiple organs. Do you think it is possible? Yes. For example, you have adrenal glands. You know adrenal glands which are right there on the top of the kidney. You have a pair of adrenal gland, and they release something that is known as adrenaline. Okay, adrenaline is known as the fight or the flight hormone. Okay, it will allow you to fight with something. For example, a bear is there, you saw it, okay, and now you want to fight with it. At this point of time, too much amount of adrenaline is released, or probably you want to run away, flight, okay. At this point of time also adrenaline is being released. Fine. So adrenaline is something that will be having multiple effects on multiple organs. For example, if you talk about sweat glands, it will act on the sweat glands and release more and more sweat so that your body cools down, externally at least, okay. Next thing, what do you have? Adrenal glands will be acting on your blood vessels, For example, for running, I need blood supply to my muscles, but suppose there are blood vessels going to my stomach. I don't want too much amount of blood supply there, but I want to redirect it. So what do? I make the blood vessels over there going to the stomach constricted. Okay, I constrict it, I narrow it down so that there won't be too much amount of blood going to that area, but instead I am redirecting it to go to other areas, that is my leg or things like that. So blood vessels, they are acting upon it. Okay, you have the heart rate increases way too much. Why? Because you have to pump a lot of blood, my dear children. So don't you think here itself they are affecting different organs? What about the eyes? It is going to, adrenaline is going to affect your eyes also. When something comes in front, you are scared of it, adrenaline is being released and your eyelid, if you see the pupil and everything, it gets enlarged so that more light gets in. Why do you go like this? Because you want more light to get in so that you get the clear view of things. This is nature's way. This is nature's way of protecting you. When you are able to see, okay, it is not a voluntary action, it is a very involuntary action, it is not under your control. But it happens so that you can see things clearly and probably you can make a way out of it. Okay, so that is why we do this. So here, one hormone having multiple effects, I gave you the answer for that. How can you tell the answer in a detailed way? Adrenaline induces the sweat glands to produce more sweat. It acts on the heart to increase the contraction of its muscles, pumping, causing improved oxygen delivery. More oxygen, that means if more oxygen is given, I told you, glucose is broken down to give CO2, to give H2O, to give energy, and this process requires oxygen, my dear children. This is known as respiration, right? So obviously oxygen is required, so your blood need to pump more and more oxygenated blood. So for that it acts on the heart also. It acts on blood vessels of the digestive system, constricting them and directing the blood towards what? And directing blood towards muscles. Okay, in the muscles, the blood vessels which are going, it will dilate it so that lots of blood can come in. Okay, so this is the thing that is happening. We can also talk about the eye also. Fine? Shalom. I hope you are understanding this. Now, if two pea plants having round and green seeds, listen to me carefully. They are given the genotype also. Round and green is like this. Round because both of them are, capital R is mentioned, that means capital R. That means round is a dominant trait. What about green? Green is also a dominant trait, which is why this thing is giving green. Okay, even after having a heterozygous combination of alleles, still it is green. That means this guy is dominant over it. Okay, now identify the percentage of the following with respect to F1 generation. We have to find with respect to F1 generation. Gametes having both round and yellow seed traits. First thing, ma'am, how to form gametes? Very easy. Listen to me. So this is the parent. This is another parent that we are having. Now I always tell you, my dear children, how to make gametes. So this is a pair of chromosome. Capital R over here, capital R over here. This is found on another pair of chromosome, probably same, but anyways, we will take it in a different way. From this pair, one chromosome can go into a gamete. Because you know, in the gamete you have only half the number of chromosomes. So from a pair only one can go. So either this or either this. Anyway, whatever you do, it will be capital R only, because you just have those alleles. Whatever you do, it will be capital R. What about this? Here it can be capital G. Now one more combination that you can get is capital R again and small g. Okay, this is the combination that you can have. Similarly over here, this parent will also do the same. Capital R, capital G, capital R, small g. So gametes having both round and yellow seed traits, my dear children. Both having round and yellow seed. This is round and this is yellow. Small g is for yellow. So how many gametes do you have like this? If you see, If two pea plants having round and greens are crossed, identify the percentage of the following with respect to gametes having both round and yellow seed traits. So, it is, you see both of them there are two. So, can I say 50%? 50% of them will be having round and yellow seed traits. If I am talking about just a parent also, if I am talking about just a parent, if I am not talking about the next parent, okay, that we have over here. So, it is like this. So, what are the combination? This capital R with this capital G, this capital R with this capital G, this capital R with small g, this capital R with small g. So, 50% of them like this, 50% of them like this. This is round and green and this is round and yellow. You get it? So, gametes having both round and yellow seed traits is just 50%. Offsprings having both having the same genotype as the parents. The same genotype as the parents, as in same genotype. How will you find that? You have to make a cross. How will you make the cross, my dear children? You have to do like this. So, what are the gametes? You have capital R, capital G, capital R, small g. This is the combination of gametes. So, one parent gametes I am putting over here. The other combination, let's just a second. This is the Punnett square I am going to make, okay. So, capital R, capital G, capital R, small g. This is the next combination that I am having. Both the parents have the same combination, right? Now, suppose from one parent this gamete and other parent this gamete came in. So, it will be capital R, capital G, capital G. What about them? If this gamete and this gamete fuses, capital R, capital G, small g. Okay. What about them? Again, capital R, capital G, small g. This capital R, small g, small g. So, how much percentage of the offsprings are having the same genotype as the parent? The genotype was here. Parent genotype is like this. So, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 are there. In that, I see 2 of them. Out of 4, 2. That means half of them. That means 50% of them have the genotype like this. So, what is the answer? 50%, my dear children. Okay. So, gametes having both round and yellow, this is also 50, this is also 50. Now, offspring having the same phenotype as the parent. Phenotype as in the looks, appearance. So, they should be round and green. How many of them are round and green over here, my dear children? Here it will be round and green. This also will be round and green because there is a dominant one, green, to dominate it. Here also it will be round and green. 3 out of 4. That means 3 out of 4 basically means 75% of them will be having the same phenotype as the parents. So, I will tell you where do you mess around. You do not know to form the gametes, that is where you mess around. So, to make the gametes it's very easy. Whenever this type of situation comes, okay, or anything like this comes, make a pair of chromosome for this, make a pair of chromosome for this. This chromosome can go with this chromosome into a gamete, this chromosome can go with this chromosome into a gamete. Okay, either from one only gang, from one gang only one guy can go. Similarly, this can go with this can go with this as well. Okay, remember that is very much important. Now, I already told you the answer, 1 mark for each, you get 3 marks. Chalo, next question. Okay, next section number D. I think that was interesting. Do let me know if you are finding it interesting, or is it boring, or is it too difficult, and you can definitely ask me doubts. I clear it up. You might have seen others commenting and I might be responding to it. So, please put down your doubts. I am here to clear it up, and also if you like the video, do tell me that as well. Yeah. So, section D consists of 5 mark question. So, there are 2 questions which you can attempt, my dear children. I am going with the first one and then we will try this next one. Okay. So, certain specialized cells in animals called stem cells have the ability to divide and differentiate into different cell types. So, certain cell is there which you call a stem cell, which has the proper affinity superpower to basically grow into whatever they want. Okay, they have the capacity to give rise to lots of cells. Now, this helps in replacement of damaged organ. Name and explain 2 methods of asexual reproduction that are similar to stem cells and occur mostly in multicellular organisms. So, in our body also we have stem cells, but they do not have too much potency. For example, it can form certain type of cells, not all. You get it? We have certain stem cell which has the potency to give rise to whole organism, but that you have to take when you are formed in the umbilical cord. Okay, the cells of the umbilical cord which will have the potency to basically give rise to whole organism. So if you keep it safe, that is why we have stem bank. You can give rise to whole organism. But other than that, when you are formed like this, now those cells are not there in your body which can give rise to whole organism like this. So you have two organisms which actually reproduce like this. They have stem cells which gives rise to new organisms. So for example, if you have seen a hydra, my dear children, so hydra, it looks like this with all those tentacles that it has and everything. Okay, and hydra, suppose they have certain stem cells over here, they can give rise to small hydrae over here. This is known as budding. This is known as budding, and this is a mode of asexual reproduction. Why? Because there is no fusion of gametes. There is no fusion of male and female gametes over here. Get it? Okay. So yes, that is there. And you have to tell two methods. So this is one method of asexual reproduction. One more I can say. What is the example that I can give? Regeneration. Regeneration is actually not a method of asexual reproduction, but yes, they can give rise to a organism. Okay, for example, planaria, if you see. Okay, for example, planaria, if you see, if you cut the planaria, that is organism, it's a flatworm. Okay, if you cut it from here, okay, now this particular part will be giving rise to the whole part. So that is also being seen. Okay. Apart from, I will actually say, instead of regeneration, even though regeneration is given in the answer, I will recommend you to write fragmentation, that is happening. But in fragmentation, new part is being just like this. It is an example of fragmentation only. A new part is being formed, but somehow in the marking scheme they have mentioned as regeneration itself, so keep it like that. Okay. Or you can write fragmentation in bracket, you can write regeneration. In fragmentation also, what happens in fragmentation? Organism is there, it cuts down in fragments. Okay. Now these fragments can give rise to a whole organism again. So they can make the whole organism again. But they do that with the help of regeneration process. This process is known as regeneration, of regenerating the lost part and things like that. Okay. Now, identify two pairs of reproductive organs in males and females that are functionally similar to each other and justify. So, male reproductive system and female reproductive system. Two pairs of organs which are having similar functions. So, probably testis and ovary. Testis produces the male gamete, ovary produces the female gamete. Testis produces the male hormone, ovary produces the female hormone. So, you have one such organ. Okay. Now, the second organ that we have is vas deferens and fallopian tube. Vas deferens, you know vas deferens? Vas deferens is the one that carries sperms from the testis. It carries sperms from the testis. Now, what about fallopian tube? Fallopian tube are also the ones that carries egg from the ovaries. Okay, they also carry egg from the ovaries, so they have the same function. So, how do you frame the answer? Let's see it. So, 5 marker questions, so you cannot mess it around. This will be the answer. Okay. 0.5 marks each for the name and 0.5 marks for the explanation. So, regeneration is the first. In this process, if an individual organism is cut or broken up into many pieces, many of these pieces grow back into separate individuals. Now, you have budding, the next mode of asexual reproduction. In budding, a small outgrowth or bud forms on the parent organism, which eventually detaches and develops into a new individual. Example is hydra. Regeneration example is what? Planaria, my dear children. Okay, as I said, it will be really good if you write fragmentation over here. Fragmentation over here, and you put it in regeneration, you can put it in the bracket. That will be more correct. I don't know why they put the answer like this, but yeah. Now, the organs which have similar functions, testes and ovaries, both structures perform the function of producing gametes and hormones crucial for reproduction. Vas deferens and fallopian tube is the next guy. Okay, both structures are responsible for carrying the gametes to the site of fertilization. No marks are to be allotted if the pair mentioned is incorrect. If this pair which is there, it is incorrect, you are not going to get marks. This is also given in the marking scheme. So, you get how strict it is. So, you have to be very specific with the answers. Okay. So, you got it correct. Now, what do you have? Next question. Sagar saw a beautiful rose and smelled it. Okay. As he was smelling it, he happened to touch a thorn and pull his hand away. State two differences and similarities, each in the way the nervous system performs the two actions. So, when you smell, Okay, when you smell something, what happens? Your olfactory receptors, olfactory receptors which are there in the nose, they get active. Okay, they will be active, they will sense everything, and basically they are going to send a signal to the brain. In that you have an olfactory lobe that will produce again a signal, which is why you are able to smell things. Okay, that is how it works. Now, if you are talking about, and this is actually a voluntary action that you are seeing, right? Isn't it a voluntary action? You are controlling it, you are going to smell it, and yes, that the whole thing happens. What about touching a thorn? When you touch a thorn and when you pull your hand away, this is a reflex action, my dear children. Okay, this is a reflex action that is taking place. So again, over here also there will be receptors, there will be mechanoreceptors. Over here you have olfactory. Over here you have mechanoreceptors which will be touched, which will be able to understand that there is something over there, and hence it will create an action. So this is a similarity that you have. This is a similarity that you have, and anyway the signal is going to the nervous system. This is the next similarity that you have. Here also it is nervous system was anyways involved. Here also when I am pulling my hands away, nervous system is still being involved. Now I told you when you smell, what happens? It goes to your olfactory lobe, the signal goes to the olfactory lobe which is there in the brain. So your brain is involved. But when you talk about reflex action, your brain is involved, but majorly there is someone else who is being involved, and that is spinal cord. So in reflex action we say spinal cord is involved. If we send the signal to the brain, probably we will keep on thinking, and by that time the horn will be inside my hand. I do not want that. You get it? So I will say in reflex action spinal cord is involved way too much, and it is very quick as well. So how do you frame this answer? Similarity in both the cases, the signal is initiated by receptors located on the specific sense organ, and in both the cases neurotransmitters are released and accepted by neurons to carry the impulses. So there are neurotransmitters in between the neurons. Okay, so there is one signal getting activated, the neuron will be releasing neurotransmitters which are there at the end, and this neurotransmitters goes and acts on the next neuron which is there, and it keeps on going like that. If we talk about differences, the action of spelling the rose is voluntary. You are voluntarily spelling it, whereas pulling the hand away is involuntary. It is not under control, but you do it very fast, right? Now, while smelling the rose, the nerve impulse reaches the brain and back, whereas when touching a thorn, the nerve impulse travels primarily toward the spinal cord and then back. You get it? So those are the differences that you are having. Now, are all involuntary actions reflex actions, my dear children? Do you think all the involuntary actions are reflex action? For example, the food that I eat, I only chew until here, and after that the food goes down by itself. So it's an involuntary action. The food is made to go because peristalsis is happening inside my body. That is why it is going. Now it is going involuntarily. Is it a reflex action? No. It is not a reflex action. So all the involuntary things, for example, my heart beating is an involuntary thing, but is it a reflex action? No. Reflex action is always going to be quick and it's going to be temporary. For example, me pulling my hands away, it's not like I will always do that. What is it? Is it a dance? No, my dear children. So reflex action is going to be a quick and temporary action. When you talk about involuntary actions, it can have multiple effects. For example, beating of heart, it has to happen as long as we are alive. You get it? So that's how you will be telling the answer. So yes, most involuntary actions do not require a stimulus, and yeah, that is the thing. That is the difference. Okay, what do you have? In the case of reflex action, you need a stimulus, right? For example, hot pan, the heat is the stimulus. Okay, or light is there, then light is the stimulus. Me closing the eyes when too much light is there, light is the stimulus over here. So in involuntary action, you do not need a stimulus. It keeps on going without the stimulus, that is beating of the heart. But when you talk about reflex action, it needs a stimulus, then only it will be happening. Cool. So no is the answer, and justification you can give like this. Cool. Now the last section, my dear children, which is a 4-marker question section that we are having over here. Ram and Asha were married couple. They had 4 children. One of these children had sickle cell anemia, whereas the other 4 children did not show symptoms. So Ram and Asha were married and they got 4 children in them. One is having the disease, that is sickle cell anemia, and others do not. Ram and Asha did not show symptoms of sickle cell anemia, so they are also not showing any symptoms. The trait for sickle cell anemia is not linked to sex chromosome. It is also being said that the sex of an organism has nothing to do with this particular disease. Okay. Is this disease caused by dominant or recessive trait? It is caused by dominant or recessive trait. So basically, is it a dominant disease or a recessive disease? I can ask like that also. It is not a dominant disease. Why? Because Ram and Asha didn't have it. 4 children are there, 3 of them didn't have it, only one guy have it. If it was dominant, my dear children, one defective allele was enough. Okay, one defective allele will be enough for showing the character. But probably since it is not being shown in generations, the parents' generation it is not being shown, the next generation it is being shown. So I will say it is not dominant, but it is what? A recessive trait, since it is not found in each and every generation that is there. Okay, and not found in parent generation. Now, if the child that had sickle cell anemia got married to a person without a mutation in the sickle cell anemia gene, what percentage of their children would have sickle cell anemia? Now, listen to me carefully. For understanding the child's thing, you have to understand Ram and Asha. Ram and Asha, both of them, basically, as I said, they are not, in the question is it saying they are not having any symptom. That means they are not affected. They can be carriers. They can be carriers, and who are the carriers? I'll tell you. So, normal allele for this looks like this, okay, where this is the normal alleles for normal cells. Now, if you are having sickle cell anemia, then since it is a recessive trait, both the alleles should be affected. That is when the recessive trait is being shown. Now, the situation is like this, where one allele is normal and the other allele is affected. This is the defective allele. So, this will overshadow the effect, and hence this organism who is having this genotype will be safe. They are just carriers. They are just what, my dear children? Carriers. Okay, since you have a normal allele to combat this effect. If you are like this, you are having sickle cell anemia. I will say you are affected, you are having sickle cell anemia, you are not the carrier, you are having it. If this is the case, you are normal. So, in the case of Ram and Asha, both of them might have been like this, which is why they are both carriers, which is why both of them are carriers, my dear. If the child should have the disease, then you should be getting from both the parents one allele. Then only this recessive condition can be happening, right? You should be getting one allele from both the parents. So, that means both of them should be having this allele, and if both of them are having this allele and not showing the character, then probably they are carriers. Listen to me carefully once again. Okay, the child has it. If the child has it, that means you should be getting the defective allele from both the parents. But the parents do not have the disease, then they should be just the carriers. If they do not have the disease, then they should be just the carriers. So, this is the condition for a carrier. So, my dear children, what is Ram's, what is Ram's genotype? It is HBA, HBS. This is Ram's genotype. What is Asha's genotype? It is HBA and HBS again. So, when the gametes are being formed, one gamete will be having this, one gamete will be having this. Suppose this gamete and this gamete fused. You got a child who has sickle cell anemia. Get it? Now, if this guy, the child is married to a person who does not have any effect in the sickle cell anemia gene, that is she is very normal, he or she is very normal. Okay? So, what is the scenario? How can I make that? What is the question? What percentage of their children would have sickle cell anemia? That is the question. So, this is one allele, this is another allele of the child, and this is one allele and this another allele for the person who is marrying this. Okay? Gamete can have either this or either this. Anyways, you are going to get a defective allele from the child's end. The person who is marrying will have normal allele in the gamete. Now, let us make a fusion. So, this and this fuses, you get HBA and HBS, a carrier. He or she will be what? A carrier, my dear children, because you see one S is there. This and this fuses again. Okay? Again what? Carrier. This and this fuses. Carrier. This and this fuses. Again what? Carrier. Is any of them having sickle cell anemia? They are just the carriers, none of them are affected. So, I will say 0% of them will be affected. How much? 0% of them. Got it? What percentage of the children would have sickle cell anemia? Show the cross. You have to show the cross and show it. I have the answer for this, do not worry, okay. So, over here, the gametes are put down over here, the gametes are put down over here, you just have to make a cross. Okay, just like how we crossed over there, you just have to put the gametes and then cross it. Each of them will be carriers. So, 0% will have sickle cell anemia, but 100% of them will be what, my dear children? Carriers. Got it? Cool. Now, you have the next part. Identify the genetic composition, or you can attempt this, okay, this or this. In B, you can attempt this or this. Identify the genetic composition of sickle cell anemia trait in Asha and Ram. Asha and Ram I told you, and use that to predict the genetic composition in the other 4 children who did not show symptoms. Okay. So, the other people, okay, it was not 3, it was 4, other 4 people were there. So, we have to find Ram and Asha, we already found out they both were carriers. So, they had one gene A and the other one was allele, one allele was A, other allele was the affected one. Here also same thing. So, when you cross them, okay, when you cross this and this, you get this, that is normal. This and this, you get this, that is a carrier. Again, this and this, when you cross, you get a carrier. This and this, when you come, this is the diseased condition. So, over here, the child had this, child had this, my dear children, okay. And the other children who were there, they might have any of these things, okay. They might have been a carrier or they might be normal. 25% of them, okay, 25% of them are normal, okay. That is 1 out of 4 is normal, okay. If you talk about carriers, 2 of them, that is half of them, 50% of them were this, and the one disease is 25% again. So, I know it is tricky, but you will get it. You just have to understand the funda behind it. The parents are not showing the disease, but in the child it is there, it is a recessive disease. Just understand that it is a recessive disease. The parents are showing the disease, okay, then it can be dominant. And if it is found in every single generation, their child also, one among their one or two of their child also have it, then it is a dominant disease. If the generation is being skipped, it is a recessive disease. Cool? So, that is all, my dear children. With this, we have finished sample paper 4, which is also really important. All the sample papers we are solving up here are really important for you. Keep on solving and do not miss even a single question of this. Okay, and if you have enjoyed watching this video, if you think it was useful, definitely do not forget to let me know that in the comment section. So, that is all. Bye bye. Take care.